close together, wanna make your body mine. And I say, oh, it's a night we'll both remember. Oh, sweet surrender. Oh, we're moving close together, wanna make your body mine. Through the night, ooh, oh, yeah, baby, I wanna make your body mine. Wanna make your body right. fine. Oh, lady, let your body take control. You're on my mind, baby. Just move a little closer. And I say, oh, it's a night we'll both remember. Oh, sweet surrender. Oh, we're moving close together. Wanna make your body
morning, everybody. How you doing? It's Thursday, also known as FTG Thursday here on the Morning Night Live. And I'm so glad you're here, but I am also thinking that maybe, just maybe, there's a bus revving in the background. Yes, the bus under which Dr. Anthony Fauci could be under very soon. I said it the other day. It's about time for Dr. Fauci to go under the bus, and now there's a treasure trove of Dr. Anthony Fauci's work emails, although some people seem to think they're his personal emails. So I fully expect to hear the phrase coming soon from a Democrat or a leftist near you, but his emails, because that's what it's going to be. Am I really soft here today? I don't know. I can't tell. That doesn't seem like I'm very loud. But anyway, that's what the beginning of the show is going to be about, and then we're just going to wander our way through some other news that happens like we always do, and hopefully we find a couple FTGs there while we're playing. And as you play along in the chat or just lurking in the background, I hope that you enjoy the show. Hit the like button and all that stuff. I'm going to play the intro now. Johnny, play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way, but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, PDawgKnight.
And stop that music. Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight on the internet, and welcome back to the PDawgKnight Channel. It is the 3rd of June, 2020, Thursday, aka FTG Thursday. And if you don't know what that means, ask somebody in the chat. They'll get you up to speed. And I am definitely happy to be here, and I'm happy you're here too. If you like the show while you're thinking about it, hit the like button sometime during the show. Also, share this stream out. We got to get some people in here that may not have gotten the YouTube notifications. That's why I need you. I really need you guys to do that if you can. And also, you can sponsor the show through SuperChats and Streamlabs and all the stuff. That just information is in the description down there somewhere, and it'll show up in the chat wherever the chat is for you. I think the chat for you is over there. Probably it's over there, unless you're on a phone. Then it might be over here, or it might be down there, or wherever the chat is. You know, it'll be there. I promise. All right, let's say good morning to people here. Not a whole lot of people here right now, but I'm sure the crowd will multiply. It'll be free and multiply, not in a way that, you know, biblically, but just multiply just as more people come in. So first in the chat today was all alone, always lost and nothing else, and you get the bell today. Good morning. Don't have a twat or a crap book, been summoned to Discord, but I'm lingering on the idea of starting a Discord. Well, that's okay. Sometimes it's not a bad thing to not be on social media. I often have to take a break. In fact, I used to take a break between Christmas and New Year every year, and I would just turn it off, you know, but now I can't because I have a show to do, and that's usually where I get all my stuff. But it's not a terrible thing to not be on social media these days. I mean, some of it is just designed to start arguments and get people to go, you know, like that. But anyway, welcome to the show, of course. Good morning, Jonathan Peterson, also. And also, good morning, Maddie. Nice to see you on this on the show today. And actually, you get one of these because Maddie and Ronan are probably in the truck somewhere. Also, good morning, Advocatus Diablo, the Devil's Advocate. Good morning, Mitch the Ripper. Fantastic to see you here. I haven't seen you in the chat. I know you're lurking today, but it's nice to have you here, you know. I miss you, brother. Also, good morning to my favorite Canadian Jaeger pony. Happy FTG Thursday, everybody. Also, good morning, Renee Mayette. What's up? Yes, FTG Fauci. Definitely every day I could say that. Good morning to Ride Deos. Nice to see you. Also, Somnambule Nation and Grillin' Pirate Pete. It's Rib Day in the Cove. Ooh, yeah, that's my favorite day. You're doing St. Louis spare ribs or baby backs? I'll ask you that right now. Or, I mean, I shouldn't say just spare ribs. I always cut them St. Louis style because I just like the strip of bones there. And then you can take the, the ends and all that stuff, that extra stuff, and you can just, that's just the snack stuff, right? But then you cut off just straight out the bones, St. Louis style. And get that them slabs smoked up for a couple hours or 2 or 3 or whatever you're going to do. And my mouth's watering. I should stop talking about this. Also, good morning to Ronan, who I already did this, but I'll do it again. Also, Attack Alpaca, good morning. San, what's up? Robert Chalk, nice to see you. The chat is always here, unlike the White House YouTube channel. Ooh, yeah, you know. Yeah, they ain't doing all that good. Good morning, Molly Mags. Happy morning to you too. All right, that's everyone who has shown their face. If you haven't shown your face, that's okay. You're lurking, working, thriving, driving. Just be careful out there. Don't try to look at the screen if you're driving, especially, or if you're working on heavy equipment. All right, so here's the thing. We have a situation where I hear a bus revving, and it's been revving for a while, just gently revving, right? But it's just weird because there are people in the press who maybe are starting to see the things that the rest of us are seeing, and it's really strange, you know? And so I get on Twitter this morning because I was gonna, I do my thing on Twitter just to see what's happening. If there's any it's Twitter's great for breaking news because they'll have the stuff out there right away, and a lot of times if you're catching it early, right, it's before they curate their lists, so you're gonna get the news, right? You're gonna get what's happening, and so there's a Vanity Fair article by someone named Catherine Eben, I believe, and she's written an article on the origin of Stupid 19. And so she has this Twitter thread here. Is this the one? I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. So she has this Twitter thread. Hello, Justin Anderson. Breaking, my months-long Vanity Fair investigation on Stupid 19 origins is live. Interviews with 40 people, reviews of hundreds of pages of U.S. government docs, including internal memos, meeting minutes, email correspondence, and it found conflicts of interest in part from large U.S. government grants supporting controversial virology, is that right? Research known as gain of function hampered U.S. government investigation into Stupid 19 origins and legit questions on lab leak hypothesis at every step. Now, this doesn't seem to really be, to some of us, this is not breaking news, but to her, and the fact that this went on Vanity Fair, which is a reliably left of center publication, it's fascinating that she's bringing this out. So, couple things, let's see right here. So here's an example. Let me put up full screen here. Sorry about that. There we go. By then, Matthew Pottinger had approved Stupid 19 Origins team run by the National something NSC Directorate that oversaw issues related to weapons of mass destruction. They're seeing if this is a possible bioweapon. A longtime Asia expert and former journalist, Pottinger, purposely kept the team small because there were so many people within the government, quote, wholly discounting the possibility of a lab leak who were predisposed that it was impossible, said Pottinger. In addition, many leading experts had either received or approved funding for gain-of-function research. Their conflicted status, said Pottinger, played a profound role in muddying the waters and contaminating the shot at having an impartial inquiry. So what was happening? Okay, so on 12/9/20, December 9th, 2020, a State Department meeting, or it's a State Department meeting on December 9th. Officials say they were explicitly told by colleagues not to explore Wuhan Institute of Virology's gain-of-function research because it would bring unwelcome attention to U.S. government funding of it. In an internal memo, Thomas D. Nano, then acting Assistant Secretary of State Department's Arms Control Verification Compliance Bureau, documented his team was, quote, warned not to pursue an investigation into the origin of Stupid 19 because it would open a can of worms if it continued. 4 former State Department officials told Vanity Fair they were repeatedly advised not to open a Pandora's box. Dinano said, smelled like a cover-up, and I wasn't going to be a part of it. How much of U.S. taxpayers' dollars went to Wuhan Institute of Virology? On her CV, a lead researcher, Shi Zhenli, listed U.S. government support of more than $1.2 million over 5 years, $665,000 from the National Institute of Health, and $559,500 from USAID. Former CDC director Redfield got death threats from fellow scientists after telling CNN he believed stupid-19 had lab origin. I was threatened and ostracized because I proposed another hypothesis, Redfield told Vanity Fair. And then a personal note from her, reporting this story has been like an Escher drawing. Each time I thought I'd gotten to the top of the staircase, it turned again. I had to peel away conspiracy theories, racist insinuations for legit concerns. Oh yes, because of course the people you were interviewing about this had racist insinuations. Of course, that's, nobody really cared where the origin came from. It was just all about racism against Chinese people. I'm sure that was it, dear. Anyway, from which there are many experts, quoted and unquoted, gave me valuable input, grateful to the time spent with these people, blah, blah, blah. And she thanks her Vanity Fair people. But here's an interesting passage from that. And this is kind of the introduction to it also. A month-long Vanity Fair investigation interviews more than 40 people and reviews hundreds of pages of U.S. government documents, including internal memos, meeting minutes, email correspondence, found that the conflicts of interest stemming in part from large government grants supporting controversial virology research hampered U.S. investigation into COVID-19's origin at every step. In one State Department meeting, officials seeking demand transparency from the Chinese government say they were explicitly told by colleagues not to explore the Wuhan Institute of Virology's gain-of-function research because it would bring unwelcome attention to U.S. government funding of it. And I know that's what it's, so that's basically what she says in this tweet. Okay, so here's another part that wasn't in there, though. There are reasons to doubt the lab leak hypothesis. There's a long, well-documented history of natural spillover leading to outbreaks, even when the initial and intermediate host animals have remained a mystery for months and years. And some expert virologists say the supposed oddities of the SARS-CoV-2 sequence have been found in nature. But for much of the past year, the lab leak scenario was treated not simply as unlikely or even inaccurate, but as morally out of bounds. In late March, former Centers for Disease Control Director Robert Redfield received death threats from fellow scientists after telling CNN he believed COVID-19 had originated in a lab. And then again, he said I was threatened, ostracized because I proposed another hypothesis, Redfield told Vanity Fair. I expected it from politicians, but I didn't expect it from science or scientists. Fascinating. So this is the CDC director being ridiculed and threatened by other scientists. So, and again, a good point by David Burge on Twitter here. Well, sure, if you want to believe a fringe right-wing conspiracy kook rag like Vanity Fair. Oh, and then this Trump administration has a lot to explain. No, these bureaucrats have a lot to explain. Fascinating how this is all falling back on Trump again. Let's see, what? Why were people not in the Trump administration threatening the life of people in the Trump administration for doing nothing other than state a hypothesis that now that Biden is POTUS becoming acceptable and plausible? Seems like people who make the threats have a lot to explain. Yeah, a big fat yeah to that. Anyway, so what say you? Let me say hi to a couple more people in the chat. Good morning, Asian Research Directorate, Lord Stanhope. And why are you so angry? No, I'm not asking Lord Stanhope that. That is the person in the chat called Why Are You So Angry? Did I get everybody so far? I kind of do. And if you're just lurking, just lurk away. Be safe. Don't, mess up whatever you're driving or whatever you're doing. Or don't, if you're running that metal press machine in the factory and listening on your headphones, pay attention to the metal press thing, right? We don't want anyone to lose any fingers or anything like that. C-Tron and D.I. Freighter Archer. Nice to see you here. So let's continue kind of on this vein. Part of the problem with Dr. Fauci and this whole thing is, there are some people in media who don't seem to be all that interested in questioning this guy. And I'm going to give you an example here, just a little section of Nicole Wallace from MSDNC. MSNBC, same thing. Because this is a fascinating. Just listen to this now. Nicole Wallace keeps talking. Well, I'll let you see if you figure out what I'm about to say. Let me put this on here, and here's Nicole Wallace interviewing Dr. Fauci. This is only a couple minutes long, so we'll listen to the whole thing.
This point of your public profile, I read through your emails that were released, and I just want to read.
Oh, but his emails, we're going to start, I guarantee that's coming up somewhere. I should even do a search on Twitter to see if anybody said that yet, but let's listen.
One of them. There were a lot of inquiries about your public profile. I mean, this conversation was much harder to have under the ex-president. And this was your response to one about whether or not you'd have a press conference. You wrote, yikes, that would make 4 days in a row without a press conference for me, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and tomorrow. I wonder if you feel like you're still making up some of that lost ground from many months under the last administration of not just no information, but...
Stop. Stop. Many months of not just no information. Let me ask you something. Does anybody in my chat recall the last year with the Trump administration regarding Stupid 19? And there was something they did. I can't quite pinpoint it, but I know that there was something that they did where somebody was talking in front of a bunch of people, and it was usually about Stupid 19, and they'd have 3 or 4 or 5 different people talk every time, and I could have sworn that was like on a daily basis. I don't know, when 3 or 4 months of nothing. I'm trying to understand what that means, because, ever since 15 days to slow the spread, I don't know. I have no idea what anyway, let me let her finish here. I'm going to go back just a tiny bit. Where's she at here? I'm going to go back just a tiny bit.
Administration of not just no information, but disinformation being out there. And
disinformation by who? Who are the people that they're out there? Yeah, that's it, Maddie. The press conferences. Didn't they do those like almost every day? And wasn't Dr. What's his name? Dr. Anthony Fauci. Wasn't he one of the people who talked almost every day? And oh my goodness, I'm just curious. But anyway, listen to this question.
Still see some hardness among his supporters around the vaccine or around some of these messages.
What are your feelings about the people who were around you? And she says something else interesting about the emails that just came out, and maybe you'll catch it, maybe you won't. Let's see.
You're sharing with us today.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that there are people out there who, for one reason or other, resent me for what I did in the last administration, which was not anything that was anti-Trump at all. It was just trying to get...
Oh, I feel resented. I was just trying to get the information out.
Get the right information, to try and get the right data. And what they didn't seem to understand, I guess that's understandable that they didn't understand it, is that science is a dynamic process. So something that you know in January, you make a recommendation or a comment about it. But as you get more and more information, the information leads you to change, because that's what science is. It's a...
There's some things. Yeah, that's true, Leon. There are some things that you believe in January, that science changes, blah, blah, blah. I could have sworn that he was the director of the National Institute of Health. And at some point, you know, they had to know what kind of research that lab nearby was doing. And because didn't he almost have something to do with funding that lab, even if indirectly? I don't know.
Self-correcting process. So when you hear someone say something at one point, and then 2 or 3 months later, if you stick with what you said at the original time when you had 1/5 the amount of data.
You know, it's funny. I think he's referring to masks here. Because remember when he was saying that, you know, no, people don't need to be wearing masks and yada, yada, yada. And then he kind of changed his mind on that. This is fascinating listening to him answer this question. Of course, and again, this was just a how do you feel question. And he's still talking about his feelings. I don't know.
That you have now, I think that would be inappropriate. It's appropriate, although sometimes it's difficult for people to understand how as you learn more and more, you've got to continue to evolve with the data. And that's what I was trying to do, is to always tell the truth
except when you got vaccinated. Remember Dr. Fauci, and you were fully vaccinated, and then the data was probably telling you you probably didn't need to wear a mask anymore because you're probably going to be okay. And then all of a sudden you're still telling people, oh, they should be wearing masks. I'm going to still be wearing masks. And then you changed your mind again. And was it data or just the fact that people thought you were just being an idiot? I don't know.
This is what the data is. And it was never deliberately something against the president. In fact, you spoke about my emails. You look at my emails, I never in the email said anything derogatory about President Trump.
Well, the true mark of someone is if they look good, even when their personal emails come out. So you passed the test that very few of us would pass. Dr. Anthony Fauci, thank you for spending some time with us today talking about all of it. We're always grateful to get some of your time.
Thank you. Okay.
And just on this point of your public profile.
Oh, real quick, though. Did you catch that? Did you catch what she just said? When she just said, your personal emails. Did she just say his personal emails? Because I don't think they can get a FOIA request for his personal emails. Anyone hear that? I'm very confused about his personal emails. So anyway, so now let's talk a little bit. We have a couple articles about those emails because I know someone in the chat was asking about that. Let me real quick say hi. Let's see. I saw a couple more people come in. Let's see. Rod Line, how you doing? Jesse Leon, ooh, nice to see you. Also, good morning, MC.
Hammer time.
And I think I said D.I. Freighter Watcher, but if I didn't, hello, my friend. Also, Assassin of the Gray, what's happening? And I think I'm there. I think I got it. So 33 people in the room, 18 likes. Hit the like button some point during the show. Just a reminder. Let's talk a little bit about a few of these things that are popping up in these emails because it's pretty fascinating. Also, given the fact that we know now, we know for a fact that the NIH and the NIAID funded some research. Okay, maybe, likely indirectly, but of course now the person in Wuhan says that they got about $1.2 million for this gain of function research in Wuhan, and so we're still confused about that. Good morning, Haig. How you doing? Nice to see you. Say hi to Cindy. I'm sure she's there in the background. So anyway, here's an article that some of the emails, just some of the things in the emails. A few articles on this. This one from National Pulse. Kristen Anderson, the head of the Anderson Lab at Scripps Research Institute in California, told Dr. Fauci in late January 2020 that unusual features of the stupid 19 virus led him to believe it was potentially engineered. The bombshell release from Fauci's emails goes to disprove the political and media establishment's claim that lab leak or bioweapon concern were conspiracy theories because other scientists were asking about this. In fact, Anderson is a government-funded scientist backed by Fauci's own colleagues at the National Institute of Health. Health. He wrote on Friday, January 31st, 2020 at 10:32 p.m. Our phylogenetic tree, the virus looks totally normal, and the close clustering with bats suggests the bats serve as a reservoir. The unusual features of the virus make up a really small part of the genome, so one has to look really closely at all the sequences to see some of the features potentially look. You have to look really closely at all the sequences to see that some of the features potentially look engineered. Now, this is from this Christian Anderson. He's a researcher at Stanford. We have a good team lined up to look very critically at this, so we should know much more at the end of the weekend, yada, yada, yada. Shortly after sending the email, Anderson changed his perspective and has gone to great lengths to distance himself from the original thesis. Now, you got to think about that. I wonder why. Could it be that anyone who even mentioned this kind of stuff was also being threatened, just like the director of the CDC? Curious. The news comes as National Pulse can report that, one, Fauci refused to read emails about how China was hiding data. Fauci advised Obama staffers not to wear masks. Fauci engaged in gain-of-function discussions. The emails show that Fauci accepted that asymptomatic spread did not really exist. Let me stop real quick. Thank you, Maddie, for the bullet of the 5.56 caliber through Streamlabs. It says Morning Night Live is brought to you by USA Hip Waders. USA hip waders with built-in bullshit detection will keep you from falling for MSM and Washington lies. USA hip waders for when you need to wade through all the bullshit. Thank you very much, Maddie, and thank you our new sponsor, USA hip waders. A perfect sponsor for this show. So anyway, the emails also show that Fauci accepted that asymptomatic spread did not really exist. This was in February 2020. Turns out the whole asymptomatic spread thing was a lie. Who'd have thunk it? One of those emails. You can see this in the you'll see this in the links down below. There's one link that'll have all these tabs and links on one page that if you want to go back and look at some of these stories. But this one on asymptomatic spread. Let's see. Okay, it's not. Oh, here we go. From Fauci, Aaron, my statement to you, I meant to say that most transmissions occur from someone who is symptomatic, not asymptomatic. I'm really tired, not much sleep these days. Best, Tony. So he's writing that back to Greg Folkers, whoever that is, another NIH colleague. So more on the emails. I'm going to skip the Twitchy one here. Also, he seems to have dismissed an expert's email about Chinese disinformation on Stupid 19, which was obviously seems to be a pretty common thing back then. Controversial health officials lacked of scientific curiosity raised troubling questions. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the federal bureaucrat who helped bungle the Trump administration's COVID-19 response, appears to dismiss an expert's detailed warning about Chinese disinformation in the early days of the pandemic, according to emails obtained by the Washington Post. Quote, "Too long for me to read," Fauci wrote in response to a March 2020 email from a physicist with extensive experience in China, or TLDR, as the kids say. The expert had reached out to express concern about fabricated data coming out of China and the communist country's other efforts to conceal the true extent of the virus. Other emails show that in February 2020, Fauci was advising a colleague not to wear face masks, which he said were not really effective in keeping out the virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. Now, this is probably one of those things where Fauci, in that interview with Nicole Wallace, probably was what he was talking about, where, I changed my mind because the science changed, and, you just can't hold someone to someone. Science is ever evolving and dynamic, and I just think maybe, that even though I said not to wear masks and may have killed thousands of people if the mask really worked, because I don't really know. I just kind of, we know the mask doesn't help you stop you from getting it. It just stops you from transmitting it more, because then your breath won't go as far out. But really, as far as getting it, it won't help you from getting it. Because the mask, unless you're buying a 95 masks that are hospital grade, it's not going to help you at all. I'm just paraphrasing. But anyway, here he says mask in this email to Sylvia, someone named Sylvia Burwell. Sylvia, masks are really for infected people to prevent them from spreading infection to people who are not infected, rather than protecting uninfected people from acquiring infection. The typical mask you buy in the drugstore are not really effective in keeping the virus out, which is small enough to pass through the material. It might, however, provide some slight benefit in keeping out gross droplets if someone coughs or sneezes on you. I do not recommend that you wear a mask, particularly since you are going to a very low-risk location. Your instincts are correct. Money is best spent on medical countermeasures such as diagnostics and vaccines. Safe travels. Best regards, Tony. Anyway, this month, Fauci suggests that continuing to wear a face mask, even after most restrictions have been lifted, could diminish the likelihood that you'll spread these respiratory borne diseases. Fauci's credibility has been plagued by similar inconsistencies throughout the pandemic. Few individuals in history have experienced such a rapid rise from relative obscurity to celebrity sex symbol as Fauci, whose research efforts may have played a role in causing the stupid 19 outbreak. Our society is totally Dutch, Fauci wrote in an April 2020 email in response to articles elevating him as a sex symbol status. Okay, here, that needs one of these too. Yeesh. Anyway, but CNN, of course, suggests that Fauci's email, quote, reveal the weight that came with his role as such a rare source of frank honesty within the Trump administration. COVID-19 task force. The New York Post, though, by contrast, found significance in the effusive praise of a nonprofit leader with ties to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, who thanked Fauci for his brave comments, casting doubt on the so-called lab leak theory, which until recently was dismissed as a right-wing conspiracy theory. Anyway, let's see. I think I have some other stuff on this too. There's another article here. I'm not going to go into this one, but another article where he's talking about the masks and how, they just don't, they don't do anything. Just anyway. And then did I skip this one? I got that one. And this one, this is from the Morning Joe, where he refuses to call out China at all. Now this is back in, what year was that? When was this? What's the date on this? Oh no, this is recently, after talking about the emails. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this.
Question you probably hear a lot, I hear a lot, is from people out on the street and people who are on our show. Why is this so hard? Why is it so hard to find the source of this outbreak that's killed more than 3 million people around the world, 600,000 people here in the United States, has upended our lives and our economy? Is it because China is so opaque? Is it because WHO is not sharing information? Why is this so difficult?
Because they don't want to find out. And the government of Xi Jinping does not want people to know where this came from. Because
China is asshole.
That's all. That's why. Simple. But let's hear what Dr. Fauci has to say.
There are several reasons, Willie, why it's difficult. I think one of the things is that we need better access to all the information. I mean, it's...
What is stopping you from getting access to all the information?
China is asshole.
Obviously in China's interest to find out.
Oh, is it now?
China is asshole.
Exactly what it is. And the is of the natural theory would be to find that link. So you have to keep looking for it. I mean, obviously you want openness.
Except
China is asshole.
And cooperation.
Except
China is asshole.
One of the ways you can get it is don't be accusatory. Try to get both a forensic, a scientific,
what?
China is asshole.
Be accusatory It's a little too late for that.
Investigational approach. I think the accusatory part about it is only going to get them to pull back even more. We've got to do it in a combination of diplomacy, scientific, forensic investigation, and do it in a way that the people of good faith.
What have we been trying to do? We've bent over backwards to accommodate them and not be accusatory. Oh my gosh, it's xenophobic to call it the Chinese virus. The virus from China. But we've been, oh, this makes my head hurt. It makes my head hurt. Hang on.
Not who want to do blame, but people in.
How about blaming the people in the lab? Or the people doing the research? Hello, who did I just see? Spambot22. What's up? Good morning, Crack, too. Good morning, Mike Savage, too. Blarg.
In good faith are really trying to find out what the origin is.
Good faith? Good faith? From
China is asshole.
Really? I beg to differ.
And we're seeing a lot of, I don't even want to describe it, a lot of pointing of fingers and things like that.
Because
China is asshole.
Mind and go after the truth.
You say it's in China's interest, though. Would you agree, though, Dr. Fauci, it is in their interest to hide it if there was a lab leak or worse, if they were designing something in their lab
Good question,
that
Willie.
the world, that America didn't know that it came out of their own lab? Wouldn't they want to conceal that?
Yes.
Because I don't want to be speculating on that, because every time I say something like that, you know it as well as I. It will get completely taken out of context and go into the Twitter world like crazy. So, I mean, I'm going to leave.
Yeah, it's God forbid I say something and somebody tweets about it. And is it in their interest to find out, or is it in their interest to not have it come from there? That, my friend, is an important question. Good job, Willie. I'm shocked that someone at MSNBC even hinted at that part of the question. Don't the Chinese own part of NBC? I thought they did. Anyway, okay.
That to other people and not surmise and guess whose interest it is.
Oh, really? Because you just surmised and guessed at what the herd immunity would be. You just had a hunch that first it was maybe 50% vaccinations, and then, oh no, now it's 60%. Oh wait, we need to have 80%. Just, we're trying to make people, get encouraged to get vaccinated. And you said it was a hunch. But now you're not willing to guess or speculate whether or not China might have an interest in not letting the world know that they may have put a virus out there that killed, millions of people. Good Lord, man. Anyway, let's see what the rest of this
not
says.
Helpful, because everything you say then gets completely taken out of context.
Oh, gosh, would be, how about we just show the clip, Dr. Fauci? Doesn't have to be in context. Just show the clip. All right, enough of this jackass. FTG. Here, let's just get this out of the way, even though it probably could have done it 20 times by now. Dr. Anthony Fauci with a hashtag resist Faucism. There you go. And if you want your Resist Faucism Club, go to Streamlabs or PDawgKnight.live and hit the merch link, and that'll be up there. So anyway. All right, I believe that's the last hint of this. Well, not. Oh no! I forgot about. I have more. Oh yeah, this is Fauci under the bus day. So let's just. I forgot I had a whole bunch more. Well, here, first of all, so Senator Rand Paul, who has been very critical of Dr. Fauci, is now calling for him to be. Senator Ron Paul calls to fire Dr. Fauci, saying, I told you. Senator Rand Paul, an outspoken critic of Dr. Anthony Fauci, called for his firing following the emergence of emails showing how the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases chief handled the pandemic behind the scene, from admitting that the typical mask you buy at the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out virus, to asking a colleague to please handle the narrative centering around the Wuhan lab theory. The emails also reveal a cozy relationship with the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention Director George Gao. Told you, Paul said, using the hashtag #FireFauci. There you go. Tuesday, experts obtained excerpts obtained by the Washington Post shows Fauci cozy email messages with George Gao, his Chinese counterpart. The released emails show that Fauci indeed tried to answer many queries, sometimes hitting send well after midnight, even as Trump ratcheted up attacks on China for not containing the virus after it was first discovered there. Fauci sought to maintain ties with Gao, a well-regarded Chinese scientific leader, and with Gao with him. Emails also reveal Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg reached out to Fauci, thanking him for his leadership and alerting him the rollout of Facebook Coronavirus Information Hub, which artificially boosted authoritative information about the virus, as Breitbart News detailed. Another email shows Fauci dismissing store-bought masks, noting the typical mask you buy at the drugstore is not really effective in keeping out viruses, which is the virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. The revelations come on the heels of Fauci admitting that the National Institute of Health funded the Wuhan lab, but he continued to deny a role in gain-of-function research. So he lied, and lots of people died. Also, here's a question that came up in PJ Media. Was Fauci incompetent or dishonest? Do I have to choose just one? In the final analysis, lives have been ruined. It would be an understatement to say that I'm not a fan of Dr. Anthony Fauci. For months beginning in spring 2020, I have written about features of the stupid 19 pandemic management that seemed either inconsistent with current research, in opposition to the data coming from other countries, or completely divorced from the traditional management of a respiratory virus. My lockdown objections were on record, starting with my governor's first day stay-at-home order in Georgia. Then a glaring error in the entire lockdown thesis emerged in September. A doctoral candidate of epidemiology at the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada, Ronald B. Brown, PhD, questioned how mortality data was presented early in the pandemic. On March 11, 2020, Fauci told Congress that stupid 19 was 10 times more deadly than the seasonal flu. This claim was a departure from predictions made by Fauci and former CDC Director Robert Redfield in late February. They predicted the mortality impact of stupid 19 would be between that of the seasonal flu and a pandemic flu, and in the New England Journal of Medicine. Then on March 11th, it became something akin to the bubonic plague, and the cancellations began in the NBA and other large gatherings. How this happened was either a screw-up of epic proportions or intentional. Hang on a second. Sorry, I had to sneeze. How this happened was either a screw-up of epic proportions or intentional. In the end, it doesn't really matter because the resulting chain of events ruin lives, businesses, and is responsible for education deficits we will feel for decades to come. The problem Brown identified is that Fauci compared apples to oranges in his congressional testimony. Fauci told members of Congress that the mortality rate of stupid 19 would be about 1%, or 10 times the mortality rate of the seasonal flu. The problem is that the term mortality rate is not specific, and he was comparing two different kinds of mortality. One is called case fatality rate, which means the number of people who die of a confirmed case of the illness. No tracking system or testing regime can catch all instances of a specific disease, so epidemiologists estimate what they call the disease burden. This calculation estimates how many people likely suffer from the illness but were never sick enough to seek medical care or be tested. Using the total number of estimated infections, they calculate the infection fatality rate. By definition, the IFR, infection fatality rate, will always appear lower than the CFR. For example, as of today, there have been approximately 33 million confirmed positive tests for Stupid-19. The last estimate of the disease burden for Stupid-19 from the CDC projected that the total number of infections is 4.3 times the confirmed cases, or approximately 142 million cases. There have been about 595,000 recorded deaths, though this is a likely overestimate based on hospital record reviews. However, these totals would yield a CFR of 1.8% and an IFR of 0.4%. The commonly accepted IFR for the seasonal flu is 0.1%. During his testimony on March 11, 2020, Fauci told members of Congress that the mortality rate of Stupid-19 was 3%. He then said if the statistics included mild cases, it would likely be around 1%. This number is the CFR. This projection would be 10 times deadlier than the generally accepted IFR of the seasonal flu of 0.1%. So anyway, he's comparing apples to oranges. All right. So there's that. And then and it goes on into detail about this. But the conclusion of this one also is that President Biden should ask for Dr. Fauci's resignation today. Fauci's failure to present mortality statistics correctly has caused what will be, in some cases, irreparable harm. And in the future, we would do well to never let entrenched bureaucrats run a national response to anything. Please bring in the real relevant experts and task the agencies with implementing their data and research-based recommendations, because he's kind of got everyone in a panic. Let's put it that way. Also, emails shows Fauci scrambled at the beginning of the pandemic to determine the potential U.S. role in funding coronavirus research abroad. So the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Principal Deputy Director Hugh Auchincloss responded to an email from Fauci writing that it is essential the two speak together about a scientific paper about experiments performed before the gain of function research pause. In other words, before they said no more. And here's the key to it. The paper you sent me says the experiments were performed before the gain of function pause, but have since been reviewed and approved by National Institute of Health. Auchincloss responded to Fauci. Not sure what that means, since Emily is sure that no coronavirus work has gone through the P3 framework. She will try to determine if we have any distant ties to this work abroad. Oh, distant ties? You mean like funding it? It is essential that we speak this AM. Keep your cell phone on, Fauci initially wrote to Auchincloss. I have a conference call at 7:45 a.m. with Azar, that's the Secretary of Labor. It will likely be over at 8:45 a.m. Read this paper as well as the email that I will forward you now. What? The email that I will forward to you now. You will have tasks today that must be done. A couple of months later, the man responsible for steering U.S. government funding to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, Peter Daszak, the president of the EcoHealth Alliance, thanked Dr. Anthony Fauci on April 18, 2020, for publicly dismissing the theory that coronavirus may have leaked from the lab. So the guy that the money laundering went through to fund this gain of research. This is money laundering. It literally is money laundering to the Wuhan lab through this, what's it called? EcoHealth Alliance. And this guy says, I just wanted to say a personal thank you on behalf of our staff and collaborators for publicly standing up and stating that the scientific evidence supports a natural origin for Stupid-19 from bat to human spillover, not a lab release from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Oh, said Daszak emailed. Well, didn't Daszak, he's the guy who funded the gated research stuff in Wuhan? Oh my gosh, these people. Let's see, 2020, March 19, 2020, reported that Daszak would be in Wuhan personally leading a world. Oh, and then he goes out on March 29th, 2020, leading a World Health Organization team nearly 12 months earlier charged with investigating the theory of an accidental laboratory leak being behind the origin of coronavirus. Daszak even told CBS's Leslie Stahl shortly after there was no evidence to back the theory that a leak led to the virus. Well, is this the fox guarding the hen house? I just gotta wonder. Let's see. And then Ken J. Olival, a researcher for the same company, EcoHealth Alliance, received a letter dated April 19, 2020 from Dr. Michael Lauer, the National Institute of Health's Deputy Director for Extramural Research, informing Olivia the potentiality of a lab leak is under investigation. So now, a month later, there's gonna be an investigation. So let's see here. EcoHealth Alliance is a recipient and as grantee from the National Institute of Health grant entitled Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergency. It's our understanding that one of the sub-recipients of grant funds is the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So this right here confirms that there was money laundered through EcoHealth to go to Wuhan Institute of Virology, that place that was doing research that we're no longer allowed to do in the United States. Oh, good God. You can read it yourself. The article will be in the link down below. Let me get this. Let me get these last two. Okay, this is the last one having to do with the stupid 19, as I spend most of my time today on this thing. Good Lord. Anyway, Israel says, now there's a probable link between the Pfizer stupid 19 stab and cases of myocarditis. I don't know what that is. Israel's stupid 19 vaccination program has been on the cutting edge. Currently, nearly 57% of the population has been vaccinated. Their infection rate is so low that they have ditched the vaccine passport program they used to open up many restaurants and venues. Officials also eliminated social distancing rules. The country reports 833,000 recovered patients, which they included in the passport program. Imagine having a healthcare system that actually acknowledges such an obvious fact. As the country has considered making vaccines available for children under 16, Reuters reported on public health experts who are studying a link between Pfizer's mRNA vaccine and a condition known as myocarditis. The condition is an inflammation of the heart muscle that can cause issues with the heart's ability to function correctly and can cause rapid or irregular heartbeats. It usually onsets following a viral infection. Here's what Reuters says. In Israel, 275 cases of myocarditis were reported between December 2020 and May 2021 among more than 5 million vaccinated people. So that's still a very tiny percentage, but Reuters is going to come out here and try to scare you. The Ministry of Health Department said in disclosing the findings of a study it commissioned to examine the matter. Now, this is the only difference between this and the stroke victims with the Johnson & Johnson, was it strokes that they had? Or blood clots. Oh, blood clots. Yeah, all right, this is something you're going to find 275 cases out of 5 million anyway, because in blood clots, out of 7 million people, you're likely to find, maybe 7 or 8 people that have blood clots that may not have anything to do with the vaccine. So I'm curious, how rare is myocarditis? I don't know. Most patients who've experienced heart inflammation spent no more than 4 days in the hospital, and 95% of the cases were classified as mild, according to the study, which the ministry said was conducted by 3 teams of experts. So could this be just something, again, if it's a mild condition, and is it something that would be common in people regardless of if you've had a vaccine? I don't know. So anyway, interesting that they brought this up. The state of Washington also issued a warning regarding myocarditis and pericarditis. The latter is an inflammation of the thin covering of the heart muscle. So interesting, but again, I don't know if it's earth-shattering. All right, let's get on to some other news, because I've enough about the stupid 19 and about Anthony Fauci. But before we do, let me say, just hi to everybody again. If you're here, it looks like we got we got 36 people, 26 likes. I like that. That's a good ratio. If you haven't done so, or you're thinking about it, think about it now and do it before you forget. And if you haven't shared the stream, share the stream. And let me take a 1 minute break from talking. I'm just gonna let me do the talking here. Give me 1 minute.
Hey everybody, it's me, Marty. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I hope you're enjoying the show. The Morning Night Live is sponsored by you, the viewers of the Morning Night Live, please, if you have a moment, take time to share this stream by hitting that little arrow down below or up here if you're on a mobile. And please hit the like button. I know you like it if you're still here and you're still watching. And finally, if you want to support the show, you can do that through your donations and super chats, which are in the description down below. You can do that at Streamlabs link or at PDawgKnight.live. That every little bit helps. And thank you for watching. Now back to the show.
All right, welcome back, or welcome me back, I guess. This is B, and I'm gone now. Anyway, in other news, well, in everyone's favorite war zone, aka Portland, police are investigating. Portland Antifa and BLM are militants who blocked traffic in an armed checkpoint. It was just fascinating here. This human being with the looks like a pistol grip type AR. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what that configuration is. It's weird. Anyway, Portland police appear to be handling the Antifa Black Lives Matter traffic armed checkpoint outrage with something approaching seriousness. Well, that's about time. On May 5th, 2021, Antifa and BLM activists commandeered a street in North Portland and proceeded to hold an impromptu march. The group illegally took over part of the street with no notification to drivers approaching the area. The militants had no permit to take over the streets, which means they should have relegated their march to local sidewalks. Instead, they frightened motorists with an armed checkpoint of the kind that U.S. troops have seen operated by ISIS, Al-Shabaab, and Al-Qaeda. Two drivers who happened upon the mob were ordered out of their vehicles at gunpoint. One of the drivers, who was dragged out of his car at gunpoint and his tires were flattened, was, quote, escorted, end quote, from his car by militants who bragged on video they were giving him, quote, aid. Nearby neighbors cheered on the beatings from their front porches, according to one of the victims. Yeah, another man was taken to a local hospital trauma unit when he tried to drive on the street out of the way of the protesters. His truck was blocked from the front and back by car-driving militants and their marching comrades armed with AK-47s and AR-15s. It's illegal to open carry loaded long guns in Portland. So the police are actually investigating this, and they're actually the Portland police have put out notices for these people. Looks like a female there with a gun, and this guy here with looks like an AR-15, or it might be an AK. That might be an AK. But let's see. Police who responded only when called by one of the victims couldn't tell PJ Media whether the multiple guns were loaded. In fact, cops were tight-lipped about the case and broke their near silence only on Memorial Day weekend, more than 3 weeks after the attacks, when they tweeted out the photos of the suspects. So they've got pictures of several suspects. They're getting serious, and good for the city of Portland for a change. All right, let's keep going here. Jewish groups in the U.S. of A are calling on states' attorney generals to take action to stem some of the anti-Semitic violence that's been going on as anti-Semitism skyrockets across the nation. Several prominent Jewish and pro-Israel groups are demanding that attorney generals in New York, Florida, and California do more to stop violent attacks against Jews living in their states. All three states have experienced a spike in high-profile anti-Semitic hate crimes in the weeks since Israel went to war with the Iranian-backed Hamas terror group. New York, California, and Florida have the highest Jewish populations in the country, and as a result have seen massive upticks in anti-Semitic attacks. State leaders have also been criticized for not doing enough to protect the Jewish population, to speak out against the hate crimes much as these same leaders have done when targets are Black, Hispanic, Arab, or Asian. So this group is calling on states to enforce the law and act to protect Jewish communities that are under attack. And more details in the article, but good. I mean, it's funny because there was saw some tweet by Vox, the so-called news organization, and they were talking about, they talked about this attack, and maybe let me see if I bookmarked that. Hang on a second. I may have bookmarked because I was laughing when I read it. Check bookmarks here. Let's see. It doesn't look like it did. Anyway, the gist of the thing was okay. They talked about an attack on some Jewish people in New York by some Palestinian activists, and then there was an attack in Los Angeles, but this and there's something, protesting for Palestine, and then there was another attack over here, and that was something where there was, something Palestine, right? And then it said, and at Vox, we just can't be sure of why there's all of a sudden all these anti-Semitic attacks. Like it was so ridiculous. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, all right. So they had the lockdowns in California. This is kind of a COVID thing too, but more on people getting money from COVID. So the state of California has now agreed to pay more than $2 million to a San Diego church and a Catholic priest who challenged Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom's unconstitutional Stupid 19 lockdown restrictions, which violated the Christian leader's religious freedom. In two separate settlements, the states agreed to pay $1.6 million to South Bay United Pentecostal Church and $550,000 to Catholic priest Father Trevor Burfitt. Judges also granted permanent injunctions to protect their religious freedom rights. Interesting. The South Bay case represents an unprecedented 3 trips to the United States Supreme Court in a 1-year period, which resulted in a landmark decision that opened up the churches in California for 40 million people. Chris Lemandry, a special counsel with the Thomas More Society who represented South Bay, said in a statement on the settlement, the permanent injunctions are in these cases uphold and protect one of the most cherished principles of our republic, the free exercise of religion. So interesting. I'm pretty sure the Catholic priest will probably, spread that amongst his congregation. Who knows about the South Bay United Pentecostal Church? I think that's one of those giant, the giant holy roller churches where, who knows where the money's going to go in that one, but, good for them. FTG to Gavin Newsom. And let's do that right now. FTG Gavin Newsom. Every damn day. All right, let's keep going. Hunter Biden is in the news. Well, not necessarily Hunter Biden, but we've learned something from his text messages. Apparently his ex-stripper baby mama was on his payroll when she was pregnant. Now I thought that the pregnant baby mama was a surprise. Well, maybe just a surprise to the rest of the family. I don't know. Anyway, the former stripper who bore Hunter Biden's out-of-wedlock child and who claims that he has no memory of meeting was on his consulting firm's payroll during her pregnancy, according to text messages received from his laptop. And the first son made sure she was booted off the company insurance plan months after she gave birth, according to text. The messages, which... Now, wait a minute. What? And the son made sure she was booted off the company insurance plan months after she gave birth. This is his child. And the mom got kicked off her health insurance? Oh, boy. What? FTG Hunter Biden. I mean, it's bad enough that he did that, but good Lord, FTG Hunter. Damn it, my finger's too fat. Hunter Biden. The messages which are contained on Hunter Biden's abandoned laptop shed new light on the relationship between him and London Roberts, who gave birth to their first daughter, Navy Joan Roberts, on August of 2018. The Daily Mail reported Wednesday. Roberts messaged Biden on July 24th that that year to let him know that their child's due date was September 8th. D-Day. Okay, whatever. The Mail report. The message received no response. But he didn't respond to her. This is their child. Good Lord. 15 days later, on August 8th, Roberts messaged him again. Reached out a few times. It's clear you don't want to be reached, she wrote. Need to talk to you if you feel the need to reach out. My line's always open. All is well. He was ghosting her. Anyway, again, Biden did not respond. Screenshots taken by the Mail showed that message appeared 4 times, although it's not clear whether Roberts actually sent the message 4 times. That December, Hunter Biden messaged assistant Katie Dodge asking for information about his firm, Rosemont Seneca. So this woman was on the payroll. And just for clarification, who is payroll paid to now for the past 9 months? He asked, adding in subsequent messages. So when you took what's her name off, have redirected her income, did it also end my insurance? Who? Past 9 months has been you, me, London, Haley, Liz, and Aaron, Dodge responded, but currently only you, me, and Aaron. Dodge later assured Hunter, no, London's removal doesn't jeopardize insurance. Robert slapped Hunter Biden with a paternity suit later, and so on and so forth, and the rest is history. You know, if you didn't already FTG young Hunter Biden, now's the time. Kick it into gear. Moving on. Gretchen Whitler is in the news again because now she is considering extending the coronavirus restrictions in Michigan past July 1st, longer. She's considering extending them. At least in this one, her face isn't super shiny. Someone must have taught her about powder. Michigan Governor okay, let me just get this out of the way. Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer picked 2 dates on the calendar, July 1st and July 1st, to repeal the remaining coronavirus restrictions, but she appeared to be leaving the door open on whether she will stick to the final one. On Tuesday, Whitmer was asked if she will potentially alter her order, lifting remaining orders on mask, crowds, and restaurant capacity limits July 1st, and she left the door open, according to Wood TV. I don't really want to know what Wood TV is. It sounds like a sub-channel on... what's that, Pornhub or whatever it's called. Anyway, you know, at this juncture, we're 2 days in, so it's way too early to assess that, but I think we're going to see a lot of progress, people getting back to normal and getting back to the workforce, and that's good for all of us, Whitmer said. On Tuesday, the governor was asked a similar question, specifically whether she could potentially move up the date for fully reopening instead of waiting another month for no real reason. And she couldn't give a straight answer. Here's Michigan Rising answer. How long is this? Is this?
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Here we go. Let's listen to their answer.
Next step in eliminating the restrictions with COVID is still a month away, July the 1st. Restaurants and bars are still at 50% capacity, although they can now remain open until 2 a.m. My question is, looking forward, you have said in the past that you want to watch what happens to make sure there isn't a COVID comeback. Do you see moving that date up before July the 1st or possible with you to not have to wait the full month and have those businesses lose 50% of their business? Or could you roll that back sooner and then if there is a COVID comeback, reimpose restrictions?
Well, let me just start with this. Today is June 1st. This is the first day of this phase. In this phase, we have actually been able to get out of most of the protocols that we've had. There are not limitations on outdoor dining. There remain some, 50%, but not a lot of the other same protocols that were there with regard to indoor dining. We still know that COVID is present. We are not at 70% of our population having gotten vaccinated yet. That's the goal.
We're still aware that COVID is present, and how prevalent is more important than that is present. It could be one case is present. Anyway.
Still hope that we can hit that goal by July 4th. But it's hard because, of course, things have. And I was chatting with DeVale earlier today, and they were at Potter Park Zoo this weekend, and were able to give
I traveled to Florida.
45 first shots in arms. These smaller events instead of the big one at Ford Field, these are all critical components of what's happening in communities all across the state. So we're going to hope to get to those metrics. We wanted to say by July 1st, we will plan on, and we will, there's nothing foreseeable that on the horizon that will change. But of course, we always have to have that one footnote that if all of a sudden there was a variant that showed up in Michigan that was vaccine resistant, we might have to revisit. No one thinks, but that is the one situation that we might have to reevaluate.
Okay, so I don't know. Maybe the answer isn't as quite as unreasonable as Breitbart's making it out to be, but it's still, you gotta figure it out. I guess you gotta look at what's happening in Michigan, but you can't hear, oh, you know what? It switched channels. So for whatever reason, that the question only came up in the right channel, and then the answer only came up in the left channel. So if you're listening to one headphone or one earbud, that may be why you couldn't hear. You needed to have both in. I'm sorry. And that's due to the way that the audio came out of this particular video. So if you want to check this out in the tabs later, you need to listen with both headphones. All right, let's just move on. Now we talked about the other day how Joe Biden is putting Kamala Harris in charge of protecting voter rights, because the speech he had down in Tulsa, with her leadership and your support, we're going to overcome again, but it's going to take a hell of a lot of work. Now, here's the funny thing. I could have sworn Joe Biden already put Kamala Harris in charge of something kind of important. What was that again? Something about the border and people coming across without any whatever. I don't think she's been down there yet. Has anyone seen any photo ops of Kamala Harris down by the border trying to take care of the border crisis? Because that's her job, right? Didn't he make her the border czar? And there she is cackling away. Perfect. Can we just leave this picture on here? Because that's very common. That's a very common sight with Kamala Harris. Anyway, Joe Biden announced this week that he's putting vice president, as opposed to the proxy president, Vice President Harris in charge of protecting voting rights. Biden made this move to reinforce the Democrat narrative that minorities suffer from voter suppression, even though we voted in record numbers in 2020, and so on and so forth. Anyway, it's all about efforts to prove the need for their H.R. 1 bill, which is garbage, which would radically alter the way we conduct elections, which also I think it's unconstitutional. I'm pretty sure that the states can choose how they want to do elections in their states, and the federal government really doesn't have a whole lot of say constitutionally about that. But anyway, so Biden on Tuesday tasked Vice President Harris with leading his administration's effort to protect voting rights, adding an urgent and complex issue to her growing portfolio. Biden made the announcement during a speech in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he marked the 100th anniversary of a massacre in which a white mob killed hundreds of black people. Well, there's only 39 confirmed deaths, but still, I'm going to leave it at that, because they did destroy the entire business community there, destroy the thriving community known as Black Wall Street. The president pointed to the systemic changes facing black Americans 100 years later, including threats to the right to vote, as multiple states debate and pass laws that experts say will make it more difficult for minorities in particular to cast their ballot. You know, all these states where they're supposedly making it more difficult for minorities to cast their ballot, all of them seem to be adding extended early voting and extended voting hours, and they're just restricting, maybe just narrowing down the time, and also asking people to have an ID in some of them. And boy, oh boy, I know that I really don't know any black people that don't have IDs, but you got to have IDs for just about anything you do in this world. And in fact, we're one of the very few countries that don't require an ID to vote. Did you know that? I mean, especially in the Western world, but even in a lot of the third world, you're required to have an ID to vote, and somehow people vote. But somehow the greatest country in the world, there are apparently thousands and maybe even millions of people who of color, and only of color, who don't have IDs to vote. And I just can't figure it out, because you certainly need an ID to buy a bottle of liquor. And you need an ID to, even if you're 18, you got to have an ID to buy cigarettes. And you need an ID to get any kind of government assistance. And you need an ID to be able to open a bank account. You need an ID to be able to cash a check. And if your paycheck, if you have one, and even if you don't have one, if the government sends you a check, you need an ID to cash that check. Who in the bloody hell who is an adult that does not have some form of ID? Rant finished. Anyway, well, as long as here, let's put this picture back on so we can just say FTG VP Harris, who ain't done shit at the border yet, and she probably won't do shit with this either. So let's just move on. Should I just leave that for a second? No, you don't want to see that face anymore. Anyway. Apparently Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez owns a Tesla. I did not know that. Teslas are pretty expensive, aren't they? So anyway, she owns a Tesla, but gets roasted on social media for not helping grandma in Puerto Rico. Yes, she likes to talk about her Hispanic heritage and things like that. But apparently she's not helping her grandma. Critics took to Twitter to rail against Democratic Representative from New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a self-identified Democratic socialist, after the Congresswoman denounced the poor living conditions of her grandmother in Puerto Rico. Now I know, hang on a second, I got a cough again. I don't want to do it in front of you. Now you know that this woman is raking in the dollars somewhere. You know damn well she's not just living on her congressional salary, because there's people all over the country who love this woman and probably send her money for just no reason whatsoever. Well, she complained Wednesday that Hurricane Maria relief hasn't arrived yet, and that Trump blocked relief money for Puerto Rico. She also claimed that people are being forced to flee ancestral homes and developers are taking them. So here it is. Just over a week ago, my abuela fell ill. I went to Puerto Rico to see her, my first time in a year, because of stupid 19. This is her home. Hurricane Maria relief hasn't arrived. Trump blocked relief money for Puerto Rico. People are being forced to flee ancestral homes and developers are taking them. Really? So the Congresswoman's critics were quick to call out her hypocrisy. Laverne Spicer, a Florida congressional candidate, replied to Ocasio-Cortez saying, "Honey, you drive a Tesla and have 2 apartments. If your grandmother's living poor, that's because you don't help her out." Oh, snap! Also, Matt Walsh, shameful that you live in luxury while allowing your own grandmother to suffer in these squalid conditions. Oh, snap! Libertarian Party of Tennessee. So you agree the government is incompetent with getting relief dollars to the people who would be better done through voluntary contributions, or maybe yourself? Oh, snap! It's very sad indeed. Why aren't you spreading your wealth around and helping her out? Oh, snap! That's some other congressman. So anyway. And no, it wouldn't be FTG Thursday if we didn't do FTG AOC. How about that? All right, let's move on. We got a couple more left. Close that. Oh, Biden's bigot smear versus Trump voters. So in a speech in Tulsa, which this is Miranda Devine, Joe Biden is America's biggest troll. His speech in Tulsa could not have been more disunifying, dishonest, and more designed to inflame. No, white supremacy is not a worse threat than ISIS. No, Texas voter ID bill is not a truly unprecedented assault on democracy. Biden could have given an uplifting speech on Tuesday at a ceremony marking 100 years since the Tulsa Race Massacre. Instead, he wheeled out his now familiar refrain that democracy is in peril from an enemy within. Terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to our homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, not white supremacists, he declared, citing the intelligence community. Does he remember ISIS? The images of its atrocities are etched in the memories of the rest of us. ISIS gang raped Yazidi women. It ethnically cleansed whole swaths of Iraq and Syria, slaughtering Christians and driving them out of their homes. It threw homosexuals off of buildings. It set victims afire and burned them in cages. It beheaded hostages. It displayed several heads on spikes on streets and roundabouts and public squares in Raqqa, the capital of its pretend caliphate. Its reign of terror, which lasted roughly from 2014 to 2018, was like a throwback to the barbarism of the Middle Ages. We minimize evil at our parish. Or how about Al-Qaeda, the other terrorist organization the president claimed was not as bad as white supremacy he won't stop talking about but never defines? Nothing needs more to be said about that 9/11. How can we forget the poor souls who leaped to their deaths from the Twin Towers? How can we forget the smell of burning jet fuel, the photographs of the 3,000 dead plastered around the city, the hundreds of firefighters and police who ran into mortal danger that day? When you downplay the evils of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, you trivialize the suffering of their victims. You assault their memories. In any case, if white supremacy is such a threat, tell us where it is so we can be on guard. The phrase conjures up images of white hoods, neo-Nazi skinheads, and swastika tattoos. Where are these people, and why hasn't the FBI rounded them up? But you get the feeling that for Democrats, white supremacy means Donald Trump voters who are opposed to the Biden agenda. If white supremacists are such a clear and present danger, then Democrats and their media allies wouldn't have to invent crimes for them, like the Atlanta massage parlor massacre in March, or the violent attacks on Asians in New York, most of which appear to be committed by black males. The Capitol riot also is being rebranded as a white supremacist event, but it had nothing to do with race unless you buy the line that Trump was a white supremacist president, which of course some people do. In order to claim white supremacy is the greatest threat to our democracy, you have to widen the definition. Essays in The Atlantic are typical of this bracket creep. It took Ta-Nehisi Coates mere months to declare, quote, Donald Trump is a white supremacist. So, of course, anyone who would vote for such a monster has to be a white supremacist too. Wouldn't you like to be a white supremacist too? Whiteness brought us Donald Trump, and whiteness is an existential danger to the country and the world, Coates wrote in 2017. In case you wonder what whiteness is, it is not really about skin color, because black people who don't go along with the left's talking points are deemed to be afflicted by whiteness too. An exhibit at the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture defined whiteness as self-reliance, the nuclear family, the scientific method, objectivity, hard work, Christianity, delayed gratification, and respect for authority. You know what's funny about that? There are many ancient African cultures who also embraced those concepts, even though some African cultures were more in tune to extended family helping out. There was still a nuclear family, even though it may not have been expressed that way. There was importance to your immediate family. Mother, father, child was also an important concept in many African cultures, but they're calling it white supremacy. Interesting. Self-reliance, scientific method, objectivity, hard work, delayed gratification, respect for authority. Those are all. Yeah, listen, I can certainly in my understanding of Igbo history, respect for authority was huge, but that's white supremacy according to some. These attributes are a recipe for success and a happy life, but somehow dependency, family breakdown, superstition, laziness, godlessness, disrespect for authority, and instant gratification are positive attributes to be cultivated in black people. Not in my family. What an insult. This is the destructive message Biden sent on Tuesday. Young black entrepreneurs are just as capable of succeeding given the chance as white entrepreneurs are, but they don't have lawyers and they don't have accountants. I can find an accountant in 30 seconds with Google. It's a cartoon view that doesn't comprehend a world in which black people have agency and can be successful in their own right, or even capable of showing ID at a polling booth. That brings us to another repellent part of Biden's speech. He exploited the moment to push his party's For the People Act, which attempts to hijack state elections and cement Democratic rule in perpetuity. This sacred right to vote is under assault with an incredibly intensity like I've never seen. Really? It's simply un-American, he declared, as if it's and outrage to roll back emergency voting measures sneaked through by clever Democratic lawyers last year under the cover of the pandemic, tilting the playing field helped Biden win the election, but Republicans won't be railroaded again. That is what Biden's hyperventilating on new voting laws is all about. The president could have used this Tulsa speech for healing and pointed out how far we've come in the past 100 years. Instead, he continued to mislead half the country into thinking the other half is the enemy. It's a dangerous game, and history will not look kindly upon him if he keeps it up. The idea that Donald Trump is going to take back the... Okay, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother part. I'm going to skip that part. All right, let's finish up here with a couple more and we'll get out of here. Civil rights activists on Biden's race remarks. One of the worst race hoaxes since Jussie Smollett. Horace Cooper, founder of Project 21 and former constitutional professor at George Mason University, slammed President Joe Biden for his recent remarks about racial issues. Cooper appeared on Fox News during an interview with host Tucker Carlson that discussed remarks that Biden made this week in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's just run the clip of this one because I don't think it's too long. At least this particular part. Oh no, it's 7 minutes. Never mind. I'm not gonna do that. Here's the key part. He said, this is really sad that what the president is doing. Cooper said this is perhaps one of the worst race hoaxes since Jussie Smollett's charge. When the president of the United States stands up and lies to the American people about the American people, he says that we are so racist that in particular, if you look around in your community, you need to keep your eye out for one another or one particular type of individual, white men. White nationalist, white racist. There's no evidence of this, Cooper claimed. There's no evidence that this problem exists in the workplace. There's no evidence that this problem is happening in our jails. There's no evidence in any place. And in fact, I ask right now for the president of the United States to declassify whatever intelligence that he is purporting to rely upon in making this claim. It's a flat falsehood. We're having a circumstance where we're told that what we see, we must deny and then only listen to the lie. Record numbers of Black Americans participated in the elections in 2020, also in 2018, Cooper later added. Record numbers of Black Americans gained job opportunities. Record lows in terms of the number of people complaining about hate crime or actually filing charges. You know what the spike in hate crimes were? Anti-Semitism, and now anti-Asian. And disproportionately, the 6% of the population is identified as the blame. Black men. Where's the white male, white nationalist, white racist threat? So anyway, yeah, that's, where is it? Where are they? You're not hearing about it. Where are all the hate crimes by the white nationalist, white racist guys? Because I haven't found many. Do you think you might have heard about them in the news if they were actually happening? You think you might hear about it? Do you think the news media, the current news media, and that I'll include Fox News and all the other ones on the right, do you think our news media would feature and constantly uphold that they've got an actual white nationalist or white supremacist or whatever that you want to call them that committed a crime against one of these one of us minorities, one of us, one of me, the type people like me, the melanated people. Now, interesting, you might say that Ahmaud Arbery case might fit in that category, but we're not even hearing much about that case. Where are all these, and especially the hate crimes against the Jews and the Asians? Where are the white nationalists that have committed them? I'm very confused. I haven't seen them. Have you? Anyone? Hello? Hello? Anybody? I don't hear you. I don't see you. Here, white supremacists. Because frankly, I'll whoop someone's ass if some white supremacist tried to fuck with me. I'm a large human being with gigantic hands. All right, a couple that I'm not going to get to. Amazon Deep Six's pre-publication of sales of Fauci's new book. Apparently, we might have a Governor Cuomo situation with Dr. Fauci's upcoming book. On Tuesday, let's see, Fauci was publishing an 80-page book in November, just in time for the Christmas giving season, so all his fans out there in blue America could turn from reading the New York Times and Washington Post, turning off MSNBC and CNN, and read the deep thoughts of the demigod the media have made him. Then came FOIA emails starting to reveal the real story of Fauci covering up the lab origins of Stupid 19 and his own role in circumventing the federal law banning gain-of-function research through a nonprofit cutout. As the import of these emails started to sink in, Amazon suddenly and without notice made the forthcoming book disappear. Poof. Instead, you now just get little babies. So it was here. It was the Fauci Expect the Unexpected. That was a book that was going to come out, and they did a little Amazon search, and it's gone. Oh no, the pre-order of this book is just disappeared. Let's see. This is being announced by National. Oh, I see. This is being announced by National Geographic Books, the publisher, as well as the production outfit of the announced documentary on the doctor. As having been a premature announcement, this is, to put it politely, an amusing service of PR spin. Updates: Barnes & Noble's not selling the book either. It looks like as though the National Geographic, the publisher, has pulled pre-publication sales for now. We'll see if it returns. You know, maybe they just don't want to spend the money on another Cuomo debacle, which, you know, how Andrew Cuomo's book kind of died when they started getting more information on him killing everyone's grandma and grandpas in the nursing homes. And his book sales died, and they'd already given him the $5 million advance, and apparently it's not refundable. So maybe National Geographic saw those emails and said, "Oh, hey, no, we're not going through that shit." All right, and speaking of which, oh no. You know that song? Like, if you ever watch like TikTok videos or YouTube Shorts, or what do they call it on Instagram, whatever they call the short videos, and they have they all like TikTok video. Oh no. Oh, by the way, what was that last article? Oh, Fauci. Yeah, we already FTG'd Fauci, but here's a new one, and I'm going to finish up with this and a couple more, and we're out of here. Apparently, the diversity officer at Google may have a tiny problem. You thought I was going to say penis, didn't you? Google diversity officer, or diversity chief, offers a private apology for anti-Semitic remarks as the company remains silent. Oh no! Let me give you one of these. We're looking at you, dude. Google's global diversity leader apologized privately on Tuesday night to the company's Jewish employees for a blog post in which he argued that Jews have an insatiable appetite for war. Really? Really? You mean those? Is he talking about Israel that's defending themselves from 10,000 rockets over the last month? But the tech company remains mum on the controversy. Kamal Bob, let's just take care of this right now. Let's just take care of this so you'll know how to spell it. FTG, Kamal Bob. There you go. Kamal Bob, Google's lead for diversity strategy and research, sent an email apology to a listserv of Jewish Google employees known within the company as the Jewglers. Okay. And said that his hurtful statements about Jews were a part of a ham-handed attempt to criticize Israel's military action. But wait a minute, you said Jews have an insatiable appetite for war. Anyway, The consultant for Google passed along the note to the Free Beacon with a set of strict instructions regarding its use. Please note that while I work with Google, I am not offering this as an official statement from Google, nor am I speaking as an authorized Google spokesperson. The consultant said in an email, Google itself has yet to offer any official comment on the dust-up, nor has the tech giant, whose CEO, Sundar Pichai, issued a lengthy note last summer detailing his commitment to racial equity, runaway, made any public remark on the recent spate of anti-Semitic attacks. Bob told Google's Jewish employees that his anti-Semitic tirade was intended as a critique of a particular military action and apologized for crudely characterizing all Jews. The world is leaving us all feeling unsafe and unsettled right now, and I certainly don't want to contribute to that. He's added, none of this changes or excuses the words I wrote, but I am deeply sorry for them. Well, at least he said, I am deeply sorry for my own words and not sorry that if my words offended you. So at least it's a sincere apology. But geez, he is what is his title? Google's Global Diversity Leader. Global Diversity Leader. Chief Officer, and is insane. Jews have an insatiable appetite for war. Well, you know, I don't feel like that's very inclusive. All right, let's finish out with a couple of these. Oh, Glenn Greenwald laughs. He says blasted at Brian Stelter over CNN's low rating, but I think laughing is probably the more appropriate response. Journalist Glenn Greenwald tore into CNN's host Brian Stelter Wednesday over his low ratings. Stelter referenced a Daily Beast article that said Greenwald has become a practitioner of manufactured controversy in the service of the hard right in this country. Glenn Greenwald is definitely in the service of the hard right. Never mind. There's a joke in there too, but I don't make jokes like that, especially during Pride Month. Greenwald co-founded The Intercept but left in 2020 after claiming the outlet censored him. He is now a vocal critic of The Intercept. The only ones with a smaller audience than CNN is The Intercept, Greenwald said in response to Stelter. This won't help Brian. He also slammed CNN's reliable sources, which Stelter hosts, saying that it gets fewer views than a Manhattan street. I'm not sure what that means. If I were Brian Stelter and hosting a weekend show that has fewer viewers than an average Manhattan street, all while watching my network collapse, I guess I'd also be doing things like tweeting random insults about me from obscure Intercept editors, Greenwald wrote. Have to numb the pain, because Brian had tweeted, The Intercept EIC, Betsy Reed, talking about The Intercept co-founder, now critic, Glenn Greenwald. He's become a practitioner of manufactured controversy in the service of the hard right in this country, according to the Daily Beast. Anyway, Twitter makes news when there's a beef between journalists. All right, finishing up, and this is the end of it today. Since we started with Fauci, let's end with Fauci, because I don't have any I have happy news, but I forgot to put a bookmark on it. So let's finish with this. The White House press corps seems to have no questions about Dr. Fauci and his emails that have just recently been revealed via the Washington Post. And it's amazing that they just don't seem curious at all about any of the information that's being gleaned from this stack of, hundreds of emails over the last year. Again, FOIA request brought them out because there is official work emails. The White House press corps has zero questions for Press Secretary Jen Psaki during Wednesday's press briefing on Dr. Anthony Fauci's widely circulated emails from early on in the pandemic. Psaki took questions from the White House press corps for about 45 minutes, and reporters grilled her on issues such as Russian cyber attacks, Biden's Tuesday comments, Israel's new government, and student loan forgiveness. Left out of the briefing were the inquiries into the revelations from Dr. Fauci's emails that were obtained by the Washington Post. The emails contain several previously unknown details about Dr. Fauci, who is the director of the U.S. blah, 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 blah. Spectator Washington editor and former Daily Caller White House correspondent Amber Athey, who was in the briefing room, said she was going to ask about the emails, but she was not called. Most notably, U.S. researcher Dr. Peter Daszak, the leader of the nonprofit group with close ties to the Wuhan Institute of Virology, thanked Fauci in April of 2020 in an email for publicly throwing cold water on COVID-19 lab leak theory. The theory was originally brushed off as a conspiracy theory by news outlets and fact checkers, despite information in the public domain pointing to its possibilities. So anyway, here's the last FTG of the day. That would be to the White House press corps. FTG, White House PC. There we go. So anyway, all right, gang, I gotta call it a day because I have things to do and places to be and people to see and sandwiches to deliver. So I want to thank all of you who are here today right now. If you've already done so, disregard this next sentence. Hit the damn like button if you haven't done so. And thank you for those who share the stream and do all that stuff. And thank you, Maddie, for sponsoring the show today. Our single sponsor of the day, but Maddie,
you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just a reminder that I will be here. What's today? Thursday? I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow for the regular show, and we'll probably be on for the Saturday Trail Stop stream. We'll see. I'll talk to Lady Boomer about that. She hasn't been feeling well, and we also have. Oh, I never gave you an update on the court case. I'll have to give an update on that tomorrow. But anyway, thanks everybody today. I will have the link in the description down below, which will have links to all of the stories we covered today, including the tweets and video or whatever we went through. It'll all be in that single one-tab link just after the end of the show. K-pop news. Thank you, Patrice. Oh, hi, Patrice. I didn't even see you there. And also check your logic. Patrice says, K-pop news. 2 more BTS Butter remixes dropping tomorrow. Cooler and sweeter. There you go. There's our K-pop update of the day. Also, thank you, Assassin of the Gray, who says, BT who? Now listen, Patrice is our official PDawgKnight Channel K-pop aficionado, so she will explain it to you if necessary. And on that note, I gotta say goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here. Like, share, subscribe, and throw a comment in the comment section if you're watching the replay. I need to leave. My name is PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is PDawgKnight, and thank you for watching today on the PDawgKnight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cashapp, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm PDawgKnight, and I'm out of here.